Hello everyone, I hope you guys are all doing well, day or night. But here, today I created a new script. You can check out my GitHub, but it's basically an automated script that will completely do the whole process of backing up all your Docker data, which I know everyone wants to do that. Everyone wants to do that because no one wants to lose their valuable Docker data. We're gonna create our own cloud using NextCloud. Also, very valuable because you never know when you want a cloud, like your own hosted cloud, like you literally have on site with you at all 24/7. And then you never know. And then we have Portainer for like a GUI interface for Docker. We got Home Assistant on Docker, SMB server, as you can see, Raspberry Pi Home NAS, and we got everything in here. Now I'll be showing you how to set it up. Very simple actually, because it's all through scripting. It's already pre-made for you, all scripted by using Bash scripts, so it's all obviously safe. And let's get started. What you need for the project: you need a micro SD card, at least 64 gigs or more the better. You need a Raspberry Pi 3B or 4B. 4B is more recommended with the 4 gig model because more RAM the better, but not 8 gig because currently the script is not supported with the 8 gig model. You would also want an external SSD for hosting a Samba server. You would want a micro SD reader to read and write into the files. Couple more things you'll need is you'll need an Ethernet cable. So you need an Ethernet cable, an Ethernet connection to your router or a switch, like what we got back here. And we would also need a significant power source for our Raspberry Pi, because we'll need a very significant power so we can power this Pi, because this will actually take a lot of power because we're using a lot of applications on this Pi. Alright, so the first thing we want to do is going to go to your browser of choice, and then we want to type Raspberry Pi Imager, or you could just go to the link down below and download there, because it'll be a direct link. And then we want to scroll down here, we'll click download for Windows. So now that's finished downloading, open it up. And also to connect your Pi via SSH, you probably need a software called let's just do this installation. You'll need a software. You'll be able to see your internal IP address to SSH into your Pi by looking at your router's IP address, or you can manually download software called Advanced IP Scanner, which we'll be using today, because not all of you guys may know your IP address for your router. But Advanced IP Scanner, which we got right here, we could download that. We'll just download Advanced IP Scanner. Okay, and so now that's done. We could close this, and let's open IP Scanner. Alright, so now first thing we want to do is control+Shift+x, and that is so we could change our settings. So if we want to enable SSH, first of all, that's to enable a secret socket shell, so we could actually SSH into the Pi and access our Pi on our computer, so it's easier to copy and paste and you don't have to plug in a monitor. Just leave that for now. And then we want to click save. We want to choose our OS, which we're going to be choosing Raspberry Pi OS Lite. That's what I would recommend to do. The difference between Raspberry Pi Lite and Raspberry Pi the regular Raspberry Pi OS, the Raspberry Pi Lite has no desktop environment. So that means no desktop, is all through command line. And then Raspberry Pi OS Full is the desktop with all the recommendations. But me personally, I recommend the Lite version because it's able to handle RAM better. Most of the RAM will be going straight to what we're doing instead of having to handle the desktop with our RAM. So we'll click that, and now we're gonna need to plug in our SD card. So back. Alright, so we got our SD card into our micro SD card into our micro SD card reader, and we're just gonna plug that in just like so. On the spot there. Plugged in our micro SD card. Then we can choose our storage, which is this is what it is. It's a mass storage USB device, or whatever your device name is. Make sure it's the right one because we don't want to write it to a different drive on accident. So make sure the storage that it says on here matches how much storage your micro SD card is. I'll click that and we're going to click write. We'll click yes. And now it's going to start writing the drive. And so now we could go over what we'll be installing today. I mean, we could go over the script so you know what's going to be going on in the background. And also we could just open our Advanced IP Scanner. We don't need to run it yet, but let's just get this and get it ready. We're going to run it, so we're just going to minimize this for now because we're going to run it later. And so now we're gonna go to our GitHub page, which will be inside the description. This is gonna show you the script for the actual project. So here's everything you need if you need more in-depth article style instead of following along with the video. And here's our script. So first we're gonna look at Yummypi.sh. This is to create Samba and install Docker. So let's just go over what I'll be doing. So we'll be installing all the necessary drivers for the drive, which is NTFS and exFAT. And then we'll also be installing Samba, which is a protocol that we'll be using. And then we'll be making a directory called Pi server, which is our server is going to be called Pi server. And we'll be adding permissions to the server, and then we're going to mount the server to our drive. And then I'll talk about this later because you might run into some problems, but very unlikely. And then we're going to configure Samba, and so that will be just like adding our name of the server, the comment, the permissions, and then we're also going to make a user for Samba, and then we'll be installing Docker, and then that'll be it for the first script. So I'll tell you when it's done. Install, and now it has been written onto our micro SD card. Now we can pull it out, and now we're going to be ready to plug into our Pi and get it all set up. So we'll get started with that. First, we're going to take our micro SD card, right? That has our Raspberry Pi OS Lite written onto it. We're going to plug that in real quick. We got the micro SD card slot, so we're going to plug that in. Just like so. Make sure it's in pretty well. Don't want to jam it in though. But you definitely want to make sure SSD. Very important that we have this. And we're gonna just plug this in the back. If you do use a hard drive, you'll need to buy like a USB hub that has power that you can the USB hub connects to like power, because right now we're plugging the Ethernet cord in. Because if you don't use a USB hub with power, you're not gonna have enough power to power the hard drive, which will honestly would cost the same amount of money if you're just using an SSD. So buying the power strip and a hard drive probably isn't worth it. Unless you already have a hard drive, it might be worth it, but I would definitely do some research and compare the prices, which I would have in the link description, because it's not going to have enough power. Just going the easy route with the SSD, plug that in. Alright, so we want to make sure everything's plugged in. So we got everything plugged in. We got our SSD, our Ethernet, and now all we gotta do is connect the power. I don't need this plugged in. So we're just gonna grab this cord real quick. Put this all on. There we go. Alright, so now we're gonna look for all the lights we need. So we need a green light here. Alright, we got a green light. Then we need some lights on the Ethernet port to make sure we're connected to Ethernet. This is just making sure everything's connected. Alright, we got some lights there. And we got some lights here. Okay, so now we're going to go back upstairs to the computer. Alrighty, so now we're all connected to the Pi. Now we can actually log into the Pi. So to do that, we want to run our advanced IP scanner, which we can run. And then we're also going to open up our command prompt. So I'm just going to move this to the side screen because I don't want you guys to see the MAC address. So we're just going to run it. Run this real quick, get it ready by typing SSH pi at, and then wait for the IP address to come in. And what we're going to be looking for is going to be Raspberry Pi.LAN or some type of that source. It could be Raspberry Pi, Raspberry Pi.LAN. It depends. So, Raspberry Pi.LAN. So IP address 192.168.86.141. So we're going to type at 192.168 because that's our IP address, but put in whatever your IP address is. 141. Okay. And there we go. And we could close the use, and we could focus on this now. We're gonna type now we're gonna type yes to allow it, and then now we're going to, and then now you could either copy and paste the script from, like, I showed you in the description, or you could go to my GitHub, which I appreciated because more views on my GitHub, and then you could just copy and paste the code. So in here we're gonna copy and paste this code. This is installing Git, so like GitHub, this is to install my code is hosted on. My code is hosted on GitHub. The repository with the scripts in it. So we're going to copy that. And we're going to paste it back in there. And now it's going to clone it. So now it cloned it. And so now you can press LS and you'll be able to see Yummypi as one of the things inside our one of the directories inside our Pi. So this is just as an extra precaution. Remember I told you you got errors sometimes with the drive mounting. So this is the way to see where the drive is mounted. Alright, so most of the time it'll be plugged into SDA1, which in my case it is. But if not, you might need to change some settings in the file. So what you want to do, you would want to do nano. Sorry, you want to do CD. And so as you can see, that's where my disks are. So now you want to do CD Yummypi. Oh, didn't copy. Copy that. Alright, there you go. And CD Yummypi. So now we're in here. Now we're going to do nano if the drive is not mounted to SDA1, like it's mounted to, I don't know, VDA1 or VDA2 or something like that. You would want to type nano yummypi.sh. Very important, you include the .sh at the end. And so we click enter, and then you would want to go down to where it says mounts. You want to change this to wherever your drive is mounted, okay? And then you would also want to go down to here where it says echo dev SDA1 / pi server. You want to change SDA1 like you did earlier to whatever is mounted. And if you're having trouble seeing where it's mounted to, you have to think, where is the storage mounted to? So like, how much storage is the SSD you plugged in? In my case, it's going to be like 1,000 gigs, so 1 terabyte. So it's probably 931 gigs after, like, all the formatting and all that stuff. It should be SDA1. Alright, and so now we got that over with. Now we're going to actually run the script. So we're going to do sudo. Always remember to do sudo or if the script don't work. Sudo bash yummypi.sh. Been changed, so now it's going to install the necessary packages for the NAS. And so meanwhile that, we could go over our second script. You just don't worry about this now, we'll talk about this later. But basically what we're doing in the second script, we'll be installing NextCloud right here. And then we'll be creating a Postgres database to hold our data in NextCloud. And then we'll be installing Portainer, which is a container manager for Docker. So we could easily manage our containers using like a nice interface, like using a GUI interface through the web. And then we'll be installing Home Assistant to manage our smart home devices. And we'll be installing Duplicati to back up our data to either Google Drive, Dropbox, or another external storage option, or whatever you like. It's really, really flexible. And then it's also going to, that's all we're going to be doing in the second script. And once you reach this area where it says DHCP, would you like to connect to a DHCP settings, right? Win servers to receive information about Win server, blah blah blah. You want to navigate to yes by using your arrow keys to the left and clicking enter for yes. And so now it's going to be installing some packages to help with that process. And so now that's just going to be installing. Alright, so now we're going to create a password. So the default username is NAS. So when you go connect to your Samba server, you're just going to type in NAS, okay? And so now we're going to create a new password. So, alright, so now we've successfully, updated our information. And so now we are going to, you don't need to fill in this information, so we're just going to click enter for now, fill in. And we're going to type yes. Is this information correct? And now we're gonna create a new Samba password, which I would recommend keeping it the same with the password that you had earlier. I recommend keeping it the same as the password you just entered earlier when you're filling in the information. So, okay, so now I finished. Now it's installing Docker. So now that's running. Let me actually show you how to get our get our NAS. So you want to type / your IP address. So remember 192.168, or type in whatever yours was. Okay, click enter, and just let it load up. And pretty soon you should be seeing this. And for the credentials, you want to put NAS because the default username, and whatever you remember my credentials. Okay. And so we're going to take this, right click it, and then we're going to click map network drive. And then you can choose your letter. So, I don't know, Z will do for mine. And then reconnect the sign in, okay, and we'll click OK, finish. And so now we should have, yeah, there you go, network location. So now we have Raspberry Pi Home NAS as an option to use as a, as a network drive. So we could test it by let's see, what do I have that I could drag and drop there? Oh, I actually have a script, so I'm just going to copy the script and we're just going to paste it in here. And there you go, now it's in our NAS. Like, that's so cool. And so now, the thing's finished installing, so I'm just going to delete this. Actually, I'll keep it for later for examples. Now we're going to close it. Make sure you don't have any of the instance open while doing this because it might mess it up. Like, because right now we're going to be restarting the Pi. So now we're going to be restarting the Pi by typing sudo reboot now, or just copy that by dragging across and then right clicking, paste that in there, and we press OK. And now it's gonna be now the remote. And so now we're gonna go back to now we're gonna SSH back into our Pi. So SSH Pi at 192.168.86.141, and then we're gonna type script. But okay, so now we're gonna copy and paste that script and that command I showed you earlier. So we cut that. So now you can see our model. If you didn't know your model, then this is how you do it. But most of you guys probably know your model. So if you have a Raspberry Pi 3, what you want to do is copy in this command, sudo bash Yummypi3d. But if you have a Raspberry Pi 4, you want to type sudo bash Raspberry Pi 4d. So, and first you want to do cd Yummypi. And then in my case, I'm running it on a Raspberry Pi 3, so I'm just going to copy sudo bash Yummypi3d. And we're going to I didn't copy again. Alright, there you go. And now it's going to be installing NextCloud. So now let me teach you how to install it on your phone. How to access your NAS server on your phone. This is what I had earlier. Let me just remove that. We're going to press connect to server. And what you want to do is type SMB. What's that symbol? This symbol, I forgot what it's called. / your IP address, so 192.168.86.141. I'm gonna click connect. And for register user, default username NAS, and password, whatever your password was. This right here, and we're just gonna click next. And there you go. Now we open up Raspberry Pi Home NAS, and there you go. We can see our script text document here. And then on Mac, I can't currently showcase it, but show stuff. So yeah, here's the instructions on how to do on Mac. So you want to open up Finder map, and then you want to click Go on the top menu, and you want to select Connect to Server, then type what we just did, SMB, and then what we just did for the phone, but it's to replace your IP of Pi with your IP address, and then type in your credentials, so username NAS and your password, wherever your password was. And then now we'll get to that later. Let's see anything else we have to do. And this is just reminding you what to do. And then here's all my credits that we have here. So NextCloud is done installing, so we could go to the IP address of our Pi, so which is 192.168.86.141 semicolon 8080. Type enter. Let it load. It might take a while for it to set up, so I'm just gonna let that stay in the background right there. The SD card. So let me show you what it will look like. So it just looks like this, where you have you can per calendar, you can post stuff in it, and it would be just a better version. And the reason why we're using NextCloud instead of Samba on the phone, even though you can access Samba, you can't actually write. But this is an app that you could use, so you could write, read, and everything all on NextCloud. And you have tags, and it's just easier to manage, better interface. But any of these, how do you zoom in here? You could, there's even templates too, so you could find an app template, so you could download tons of stuff that you need, tons of containers you need, all the templates, so you don't have to do anything. It would do it all for you. And then this, you could stop, kill, restart, pause, resume, or remove, or add containers all through a GUI interface, and you can see the exposed ports that is on. And so you can see when it's running, when it stopped, and you can select whether they got all their stuff and everything. So basically a thing that you could back up your stuff. So you could choose your backup size, a specific time and date. So very basic. Alright, this should be up now. Refresh. And there we go. Okay. So now I'm going to create an admin account. So now we're going to create a NextCloud account. And again, going to my password. And then we're going to click for database user. We're going to type Postgres. My password 123456. Database name Postgres. And replace localhost with Postgres. Easy as that. Now we're going to install the recommended apps. This is up to you, but me personally, I would. And then we're going to just setting up for us. And now we're going to connect to Portainer, which is your IP address. Which is that. So we're going to type your IP address with, I forgot what the symbol is called, at the port 9000. So we're going to click enter. This looks like it's still not up yet, so I'll teach you how to connect to NextCloud using your phone. Oh, never mind, it's up. So you want to create a new Portainer administrator user. So once you want to create that, let me just allow them to have statistics or not. For me, I'm just going to keep it, and then we're going to create user. And so now it's creating Docker, and then this is, we don't need, just ignore that, and we're just going to press connect. And so now it's connected, so we can see all of our containers, our volumes, and our images. So we're going to click this. And so now we can see if we have any stacks, which we don't. We can see how much RAM we're using. We can see our images, how much RAM we have, sorry. And so you could create a new image, so you could pull an image. And so, yeah, and then you could and then you could, sorry, my bad. And you could, the advanced mode for your image endpoints, you don't need to pay attention to all that. Okay. Alright, and so now we're just gonna, it looks like, so now we're done with Portainer, and it looks like our with NextCloud at the 8080 appended at the end, and we're gonna let that load up. And meanwhile, as that's loading, we could close this. Oh, there we go, it's done. And so as you can see, wait for it. And now we're at the dashboard. So now we're just gonna go through everything you could do right now, just telling you what you could do. So this is basically put your data at your fingertips. You are controller, so you use like a download a calendar and tons of stuff. So you could browse the App Store, as you can see. You already saw this. So you could install a whole bunch of apps, tons of flexibility because it's community based. And so now you could download it on all bunch of your other devices. So I'm gonna install it on my phone, which I'll show you right now. Just like earlier. And with the port 8123 appended at the end. Alright, so now we're gonna create a username. So we're just gonna put home. So I'm just gonna call it home. Sweet. Home. Share what data you would like. So I'm gonna share this. And that's it. And so now it's gonna integrations, so it already detects what we have. So it already knows we have the living room TV and everything. So I'm just gonna click that. The binary sensor off, and then the person. Now we can move on to our next thing, which is gonna be duplicati. So we'll type in your IP address. The port is 8200. Multi-user environment, one account. No, it's only a single account. So we're going to add a backup. Create a new configuration. We're going to call this Docker, because that's what we're trying to see. Back up of Docker. Okay, next. So now saved. Storage type. Backup destination. So this is where it's going to be going. So we want to save it to, let's see, Google Drive. I think Google Drive will be the safest. Enter destination path. So we don't have that. Click here to create an authentication ID, which we'll need. No, so we're gonna create a path. We're gonna create a folder called RPI backup. So now I'm gonna test the connection. The folder RPA backup does not exist, but you'd like to create it, and we're gonna click yes. Alright, connection works, so we'll click next. Source data, so this is where we're gonna get it. So we're gonna go to, here, let's see, bin, and we're gonna select Docker. So everything in this Docker folder should be backed up, and I think that's all we need. Docker, and what's in data? Duplicati, what's in, okay. And you're gonna do data, just in case, and etc. probably. And yeah, source data. I'll bring the home in there too. Okay. Okay. Next. Alright. Automatically run backups when we click yes. So we're gonna, next time is gonna be 1 a.m. And yeah, that could be the next day. Run once a week, and then that'll do. And you can choose your volume size. So 50 megs, so it'll be split up into multiple files called volumes. Backup retention, and then we're gonna delete backups that are yeah, select the number. It'll be the 1 month. That'll be significant for us. And what's gonna run right now? So as you see, it says starting backup. And I'll see you guys very soon.